What is up, sports geeks, and welcome back to another episode of College Hoops here, joined by Nick. As always, Nick, we had a great, and I mean great, weekend of college basketball. Obviously, Saturday's slate. We had Duke, North Carolina, which it doesn't get much better than that. North Carolina down 6 with a minute and a half left, ends the game on a 9-0 run with 3 threes, including one with what they thought was at the buzzer. The entire crowd storms the court. They send everybody off just for, Duke to really not get a shot off. So it's that was kind of funny. I feel bad for anybody that stormed the court and then had to leave. I feel bad for the people that run security there that had to get people to get off of the court for a game that they knew was pretty much over. But a great game nevertheless. Obviously, my Michigan State Spartans got the W against Illinois in overtime. Another great game. And then Houston goes on the road to BYU. Those are kind of the three marquee matchups on Saturday. Houston goes on the road and gets a huge win against BYU. BYU kind of crumbling right now, having some mid-season woes right now. But we have, several teams we need to talk about. Let's just start at the top with Duke. North Carolina game was spectacular. Just from that game in general, what did you learn about either of those teams?
Well, for one, I think I learned that Duke may have a problem closing games late. This is another huge game that, they played in. Yes, it was on the road, but we can go think about last year where, they basically did the same thing against the Houston Cougars to go to a national championship. What I kind of see is does John Shire's teams have problems closing late games? They were leading for more than 37 minutes in this basketball game. And like you said, they let Carolina close it on a 9-0 run. And now you see yourself with the first game of this, 2-game rivalry of each year, and you staring at a loss in the loss column in a game that you really were dominating for most of the game. Like they were never losing. You never really thought like, all right, this game's going to get away from Duke somehow. We're not going to see the end of the game where where North Carolina walks away with a win. And then I think it also goes to Boozer. He is the player of the year. He is.
Yeah.
Without this Duke team, without him would be nothing. I think we talked about it earlier in the years. They don't have a true second guy to really complement him. If you take him out of the game, this Duke team, I don't even think they would be a top 10 to 15 team in the country if you take him away from this team. And that's a real issue. Now, the thing is, how is Duke going to respond from this loss? And how are they going to continue to play the rest of the year, but then also get help? Because, he can't do it himself. And if he tries to do it himself, I think we'll see exactly what we did last year, and it's going to be another year where Duke goes home disappointed and they don't go home with the national championship.
Yeah, I think the thing the thing that stands out to me about Duke is the lack of bench production. I think that's the thing that kind of, yes, you have what's going to be the national player of the year, more than likely in Cam Boozer, and that's the reason why you can get away with maybe not having the bench production. And don't get me wrong, it's probably the biggest rivalry in it is the biggest rivalry in college basketball. And you're playing on the road as a 19-year-old freshman. It is an extremely difficult spot to play. And you should have won the game, right? Yeah. Against a good North Carolina team we'll touch on Caleb Wilson's performance in just a second, but against a very good team, and you should have won on the road in a very toxic environment. Duke played very well. They just, missed out on that final minute and a half.
Yep.
But I think the thing about Duke is they had opportunities to put that game away, but the lack of bench production, I think, was something that was kind of putting a halt on that, right? When you have Boozer go out of the game for a little bit, right, for a couple minutes in foul trouble, they don't have guys that can necessarily step up off the bench, right? You look at, their scores, they have the trio of Boozer, Evans, and Ngangba that, average double digits, right? But I think Evans is primarily a runoff of screen shooter, right? Creates a little bit for himself and is actually, just added the aspect to his game of when he gets ran off the three-point line, he's able to get to the rim. I think that's an advantage that he has now. But realistically, if he's the focal point of your offense on the court, he's able to get shut down, right? Or at least certainly limited. And then you look at okay, you have Caden Boozer there. I think that you have Foster. Caleb Foster's had a couple games this year that have been very good, but he's also had games where he just takes the back seat and doesn't necessarily look to score. And I think if this Duke team is going to win a national championship, which is what they have their sights set on, it is not another Final Four breakdown that they're hoping to have. If they're going to win a national championship, I think Caleb Foster is the guy on this team that has to take that step forward and just be somebody that can provide 10 to 14, because I don't think anybody from your bench is going to do it. And
Yeah.
you can get to the national championship. You can win a national championship being 8 deep, and with the 3 guys off the bench really just being some 3-and-D guys, right? Which, by the way, Malik Brown, not necessarily 3. The defense aspect, Malik Brown is one of the best defenders in the nation. So
Yeah.
very good, defensive complement. But I think that realistically, if you give me Caleb Foster getting you 10 to 15 in a game and he is a thick guard that can get to the rim, can push a defender off and legally and get layups consistently, not consistently, but at a high clip. So I think if Caleb Foster can play a little bit better, then I think that's where this Duke team wins. But realistically, I'm not reading too much into this. I'm not panicking with Duke. They're a spectacular team that really played 38 minutes of really good basketball and just crumbled in the last couple of minutes. But it's one of those where you're on the road. This is a game that you need to have if you want to win a national championship, because you need to have a game where your 19-year-old Cameron Boozer gets to the rim with 25 seconds left and blows the layup, so that when it's in March Madness and you're in the Final Four and he gets to the rim, he doesn't rush it. He takes his time and he gets it to 2 points. So I think that this Duke team, I'm not reading too much into it. I am reading into it a lot on the North Carolina side. This North Carolina team at the beginning of the year was not what we thought they were going to be. Obviously, they were missing Melo Trimble for a little bit, or Seth Trimble. That certainly hurts, right? I was thinking of his older brother that played at Maryland there.
Yep.
Seth Trimble, it hurt them a lot. And I think because of the fact that Caleb Wilson is the freshman phenom that is going to provide so much. You obviously have Visar, who's very, very quality coming from Arizona, but you need that guard that can get to the rim and facilitate a little bit and, maybe hit a game winner here or there. And Trimble is very, very good. He is the experienced guard on this North Carolina team that's going to help them get them as far as they get in March Madness.
Yeah, I think this game, definitely puts them on the map to be that surefire top 16 seed, kind of gets them into that right spot where they head into March, on a really good note. And I think, like I said, this win is going to be the beginning of that. But then, like you said, you look at that 3-headed monster they have and Caleb Wilson, Seth Trimble, and Henry Vasar, who, like we already talked about, could have stayed at Arizona, but they told him, look, you're not going to get the minutes you want here. Could be great somewhere else. And shout out to Hubert Davis going out and getting him. Yep. Because, they did a fantastic job against this Duke team. You look, they defended the shit out of the ball. They only let Duke get to the free throw line 6 times. And that's insane against a Duke team like this, especially when they go through Cameron Boozer down low. And usually he's getting to the line at least. He's taking at least 12 free throws. Usually almost every game. He is bullying these teams down low. Caleb Foster's getting to the line. He's usually getting his. And they did a fantastic job. And like you said, another shout out to Derek Dixon, who was able to drive at the end of the game and literally suck in the whole defense. That whole Duke defense collapsed on him. Like you would have thought he was Michael Jordan going to the 10. And the next thing you know, you got Seth Trimble wide open for a 3. That is fantastic play. And I feel like that, that pass and that play doesn't get enough credit by a freshman, driving to the hole, doing that to find the open guy and, not taking a really dumb, selfish layup. So, I think that's huge. And then you look at what they did. They shot 47% from the field, 42% from deep, and they own the free throw line, shooting 79%. So, I really think that this is a team that they have a pretty light schedule coming up, the next two and a half weeks. They have 3 games, which kind of, catch my eye with at Miami tomorrow. And they have at NC State, and they're home for Louisville. But I think all 3 of those are winnable games. I really do. And if they can get those wins, I think that the sky's the limit for this Carolina team. And, Caleb Wilson, Daniel averaging a double-double. They're going to be a tough out come March Madness. And I think this is definitely a year that helps Hubert Davis and kind of keeps his job solidified to where we don't have to keep worrying, is he going to have a team that he can take deep in the tournament? Because I think this team has the making to do it. He's just got to be able to convince them that they're good enough to do it.
Yeah, no, I would completely agree. I think Caleb Wilson is one of, if not the best, two-way player in the nation, right? Somebody that's going to play at obviously an elite level, right? He's averaging, like you said, nearly a double-double, averaging 20 a game on the offensive end with a very deep bag. But defensively is, leading the team in blocks and steals, right? He is very, very quality defensively, is somebody that's going to force turnovers. He's going to impact shots at the rim, whether he blocks it or is just an intimidating factor in there, right? And like you said, with Vasar in there too, they have I mean, they are a very good rebounding big team that is just difficult to play against, right? It's just when you have the length that they have in at the interior, it's very, very difficult. And then obviously the extreme talent on the offensive end. But I think, like what you were saying about Dixon, the jump that he's had, right? I mean, you look at the season, he's averaging like 19 minutes, but if you watch his last really like month of play, he's averaging like 30, and he's
Yeah.
starting to shoot the ball at a much more confident clip, right? It's not necessary. I mean, he's shooting better statistically, but I think it looks better, right?
Yeah.
You can tell when he catches it and is going up with it, not thinking, should I shoot this? I'm the number 6 guy on this Carolina team. I'm a true freshman. Do I? No, I'm a good shooter. I'm shooting it. And I think it's shown, right? It's shown the value. He's been one of their best shooters, on the season now. And I think that with Dixon and with Wilson, and then with the experienced play of Seth Trimble and Vasar, I think they are a very, very talented and dangerous team come March. That they're not a team I want to come up against at all in the Sweet 16, in the
Yeah.
Final Four. They're a team that is dangerous no matter what, because they can light it up from anywhere, right? I mean, they can light it up in transition, they can light it up from 3-point line, and they can turn you over, they can play elite level defense. So no, I really like this Carolina team. I agree. I think this game is a huge game for them. Get that one under your belt and continue to grow. See how they do in the final month of the season here. But a team that we touched on a little bit on our last episode last week, was Illinois. And I want to talk about them a little bit more because we're not going to spend too much time talking about them. But this Illinois team, I want to just emphasize how impressive this Illinois team is, despite the loss at Michigan State. Your leading scorer, Keaton Wagler, was awful.
Awful. He was
Awful.
terrible.
And he's shooting the ball, right? I mean, it's not like he had, a ton of turnovers. I think he only had 2 or 3, but he's your leading scorer. Was awful. I think 1 for 15 from the floor. Obviously got to the free throw line, right? But 1 for 15 from the floor. You were without your second leading scorer, Kellen Boswell, who, by the way, is going to be back in the next week or two.
Yep.
And you just took a top 10 team on the road to overtime. This is extremely impressive from this Illinois team. They are so dangerous. They are a team that I don't want to see at all in March because they have so many guys that can hit threes. They were up by 7 or 8 and could have put this game away, I think, if Wagler played a little bit better. They could have won the game if Wagler hits the open 3 that he got at the end of regulation. And so this team is so dangerous. They have 7-footers that can step out and shoot the 3. They have a 6'10" freshman in Mirkovic that can handle the ball and has a left hand like it's like Zach Randolph. I mean, it is impressive. And I think that in general, once Kellen Boswell is back, he's the reason. He's going to help Wagler in tough environments like what he was just put in. He's going to be the senior guard that can come in and say, hey, relax, freshman. I'll go get us a bucket. I'll get to the free throw line and I'll create something and get you open. You can see one go through. And I think that's the impact that a senior guard always has, right? That's why we emphasize that. But I think overall, this Illinois team, what they did was so impressive to me because your second leading scorer is out. That's going to be tough. Your leading scorer has the worst game of his season, and you just took a top 10 team on the road, very, very tough environment to overtime. I'm impressed.
Yeah, no, I'd have to agree. I mean, in my notes, I wrote "get healthy" in all caps. I think that's the biggest thing. This team is fantastic. They've proven it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it doesn't matter who they play. I mean, whether it goes back to beating, Northwestern by 40 or in this game when you literally were, like you said, winning by 7 to 8 late in the game, and then you still take it to overtime and almost win on a really tough environment, Saturday night game. Just get healthy. Yep. I mean, Boswell is going to be the biggest factor for this team when it comes tournament time. He is one of the guys that has a lot of tournament experience, and it would have translated perfectly into this game because he would have been able to take some of that weight off of Keaton Wagler's back, and maybe he wouldn't have shot 2 of 16 from the field or 2 of 8 from deep. He still, like we said, he still went 10 of 12 from the line. He was able to get to the line, which is impressive. But you need somebody else there that's willing to take those shots off his back and kind of calm him down because – that's tough for any freshman. It doesn't matter who you are. I mean, that's tough for a freshman to do is go on the road, try to be that main scoring guy.
Yep.
When, I mean, at the beginning of the year, nobody even thought Keaton Wagler was going to be anything. Nobody thought about it. Nobody thought he would be who he is now. But the fact that they were able to fight in this game, like you said, they're going to get healthy. Once they get healthy, I think this is a team that legitimately could run away with the Big Ten. I think that they are that good. I
Yep.
mean, obviously we have Michigan waiting there, and Michigan's in first right now at 12-1. But I think this team is so deep that they really can give Michigan a run for their money. And I wouldn't be surprised if we get, to March and Illinois is the regular season champ in the Big Ten.
Well, the other thing to note too is they play Michigan once at home February 27th. So you have 3 weeks roughly for Boswell to Boswell's going to be
Yeah,
back. I would be willing to bet by the USC game in a week and a half. And then he's going to have USC and UCLA to play, right?
yeah,
Get knock the rust off, and then he's going to be there for the Michigan game. I mean, as of right now, ESPN's telling me tickets are as low as $300.
really.
So it's at Illinois. It's going to be so packed.
Yeah,
Real quick, I do have to make a quick comment of speaking on that Michigan State game. Jeremy Fears played that game at an All-American level in the midst of
yes,
so much
yes,
adversity.
yes,
I obviously am biased, right? I'm a Michigan State fan. I love Jeremy Fears. What he did in the Minnesota game was dirty. I think I completely agree with Izzo. The Michigan stuff was blown out of proportion because it was
yes,
into the media. But having said that, he had a couple dirty instances and had everybody keep watching for that. And he had the one trip that I love that they reviewed because they reviewed it. I mean, the same thing that Underwood said. Underwood said, look, they reviewed it. I know I don't think it's dirty because the refs went to the monitor and said it's not.
yeah,
So it's not.
exactly.
And came out, played at an extremely high level. I was happy just to see that because the kid had so much just weighing on him, right? And
Yeah,
played spectacular. I mean, I really hope the dirty stuff doesn't continue, right? He is, one thing happening against Wisconsin where he hits a dude in the nuts
yeah,
from the Big Ten stepping in and suspending, right? So he needs to do some stuff
yeah,
and stay clean. But I mean, he played at such a high level. That's the only thing. That's the only comment I'll make about Michigan State. But I just wanted to
yeah.
emphasize that.
I mean, he's that good of a player. I mean, right now he's the assist leader in the Big Ten this year. He overtook Braden
Yes.
Smith. I mean, he
First
played
player ever, by
43
the way.
minutes. Did I
First Big
overtake
Ten
him?
player ever with 25 and 15 in a game.
There you go. I mean, that's impressive. He did it in 23 minutes. I mean, like you said, and then after the game, Izzo still puts him on the stand, and they're asking, and he's fantastic. And he's
Mhm.
great with his responses in the post game. He knows what he did was childish the past couple games, and I think that's the
Yep.
biggest thing is he's learning from it. He's learning from it. He's still a young player. I mean, let's be
Mhm.
honest. He's still a young player. And stuff like that's going to happen. You get into the moment, you get into the game,
Right.
all those things can happen. And it's one stupid little action that you make that you don't mean it. And then I guarantee most of the time he doesn't mean it. It happens.
Right.
It's sports. You're trying to win, you're playing your hardest throughout the game. And I love that he was able to bounce back, have this game, because he even
Mhm.
said in the post game, he's like, no, it's been tough. I mean, social
Yeah.
media has been tough. I mean, people have been coming at my neck, and whether that be us or anybody like us,
Right.
on Twitter, or that be actual coaches of other teams,
Mhm.
going after his neck, saying that it's dirty what he's doing, that he doesn't know he knows what he's doing, blah blah blah, all this and that. He came out and proved that he should be on one of the All American teams if he keeps this up, and he is that lightning rod for this team because he is so good at running the point. And when you really go and look at this Michigan State team, this will be my last thing. They don't really have another point guard that can really run the offense like he
Yep.
does. So if he gets in foul trouble, or you said he gets suspended because he has another dumb action, I mean, who are they going to turn to? It makes that offense so stagnant.
Yep.
He needs to stay on the floor. He is 100% a perfect example of you're going to learn from your actions, and it could easily put him on an All-American team.
Yep. Well, I think the other thing too is that I mean this Michigan State team, like you said, is very reliant on him. But the other comment I wanted to make was uh, I love Underwood's response. I know I said that. I love his response in a world where you have Greg Gard saying the Big Ten will hear from me, and you have Mick
Yeah,
Cronin saying, "Well, I'll start off by this. I'll answer any questions about the game, but the officiating was awful."
yeah,
Immediately in a press conference, I love that Underwood, even Izzo, right, calls out the refs in
yeah,
in press conferences this year. I love that Brad Underwood doesn't come out and say that should have been a flagrant one. This is a dirty player. Very easily could have said that. He was thrown an alley oop to say that. Instead,
yeah,
says no. We should have played better. We had opportunities to put this game away, and we didn't. It's that
yeah.
simple. But I love that from Underwood. But let's go ahead and move on. So I know we said we're not going to talk about Illinois. We ended up talking about them and Michigan State for a little bit.
That game deserved some love for sure.
It did. It did deserve some love. So the final game of the night there was Houston BYU. BYU's on a little bit of a skid. We're going to talk about them later.
5 of their last 6.
Yeah, we're going to talk about them later this week, which, by the way, we do have a March Madness specific episode talking about seedings. Maybe some last
We
four in,
we
first
got
four
to be getting
out.
close to the top 16, right? That CBS does.
I feel like it's like mid-February normally.
It's got to be either
So
this Saturday or next, I think.
I would agree. But I mean, so you have, well, we're just going to talk about Houston for today, I say. So
Yeah.
this Houston team just jumped from, I believe, 8 is what they were at in the AP
Yeah.
poll last week, up to 2 or 3, up to 3.
Yeah, they overtook Duke.
And it's deserved. I mean,
Yeah.
this Houston team is playing spectacular basketball right now. You look at their season. They lose to Tennessee, right? That was during Thanksgiving week. You have freshmen playing.
Yep.
How are you? You're going to drop a game here or there when you have freshmen, and then you have the loss against Texas Tech at Texas Tech. Very, very difficult game, right?
Yeah.
Okay, you take that out, you look at what they've done, right? When you go to BYU and win, you beat Arkansas, you play Texas Tech at home and you beat them. Even when you played at Texas Tech, you lost by what? 4?
Yeah.
Flemings had 42 in that game and played
Yep.
spectacular. I would almost argue that for Samson watching that game, he maybe even went to sleep that night saying, "You know what? Today was a win." He
Yeah.
probably didn't, but it might have been a win
Knowing
because
him, probably not, but yes,
we lost the game, but I know who my closer is for the rest of the season.
exactly. Yep.
And I mean, we have to. You can't talk about Houston and not mention Kingston Flemings. He is one of the best freshmen in the nation. He is playing at an All-American level. He
Yep.
dominates games consistently, and I mean, he's the leading scorer in 5 of their last 6. And I think that you when you look at this Houston team play, they're reliant on him to play well, but they don't need him to play well. Or they're better when he plays well, but they're not reliant, I think is the better way to say that.
Yeah.
When he doesn't play well, means Uzan and Sharp have to play better. But Kingston Flemings is the most talented guard they have, and he plays like it probably 95% of the time.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you. He's probably already shirted up, but I think this game even helps it. He didn't have an insane game. I mean, it definitely wasn't his best game by any stretch. But yeah, he had 19, 5, and 5. I mean, this game right here, for me at least, I mean, that solidifies him as an easy top 5 to 10 pick in the draft. I mean, and if he drops outside of that somehow, uh, I don't know. I don't know. I must not know anything about basketball anymore because he is that good. And
Yep.
when he's playing at that high of a level, this Houston team is as good as they were last year. They really are. And I think the biggest thing is, and you just brought it up, is if he doesn't have a good game, what is Sharp and Uzan going to do? And I don't think we've seen the best out of Milos Uzan yet this year.
Nope.
I don't even think we've been even remotely close. And he was a lot better player than he was last year. I get it. He kind of wasn't sure if he wanted to come back or not. He was testing the draft. They kind of told him that he probably wasn't ready yet. And he hasn't really played to that caliber that everybody thought. I mean, everybody thought that he could have been at least second or third team All American by the end of the year this year, and he really hasn't done that. I mean, he shot 20% from the field. He made 2 threes. He had 5 assists. He's not doing anything bad, but he played 40 minutes this game. He played the whole game, and he only had 8 points. And obviously, he doesn't really need to do that. They were never really looking at themselves throughout this game like, oh my God, like we need a bucket, like we could lose this game. They kind of had it the whole time, but if they want to go back to the Final Four, the national championship game, you got to get more than just 8 out of him. You really do. And I think, if he can get to that level of where he's getting, 10, 12 plus,
Mm-hmm.
that helps a lot because you're not getting much off this bench either. And I know it's kind of tough because you're not playing many guys off this bench. You really got like a 6-man rotation with Khalifa Saka coming off the bench playing the backup 5. I mean, he gave you 16 minutes. And he had 7 and 4, but other than that, you had a young guy in Isaiah Harwell who had 8 minutes off the bench. And he made 1 3. I mean, he's coming off an injury. They said that he really didn't start practicing until school started because he was coming off of an ACL injury. So maybe that's the guy that we look at to come off the bench as being their guy off the bench because we talked about it last week. Every team that makes a deep run in this tournament that's coming up next month has at least one guy off the bench that they know can come in and take over if a guy like Milos Uzan doesn't have a good night and only puts up 8. He can come off the bench and give you 10, 11 points, and he makes up for it. And I don't think we've seen that yet with this Houston team, but if they can get that going, I mean, they do it on the defensive end. We know it. They're going to consistently destroy you on the defensive end. I mean, holding BYU to 66 at home is very impressive. mean, obviously Devanster and Rob Wright got theirs with 17 and 28, but nobody else got anything. And I think that's what's really impressive. And that win on Saturday may or may not, start making the committee think, hey, is this a one seed again? And if
Mhm.
Houston can get that one seed and get themselves the path that they want, I don't see why they couldn't see themselves back in the Final Four in Indianapolis this year.
Well, I think my thing about Houston is if I told you, if I told you, and if you told me at the beginning of the year, it's going to be mid-February and Houston's going to have the number 4 Ken Palm rated offense, I would tell you they're the best team in the country.
Yeah.
Because we know the defense that they're going to play. Samson's teams always play absolutely smothering elite defense that's going to make you hate your life for 40 minutes. That's what they always do. It's exactly what they just did to BYU, right? With senior guards, right? I mean, like obviously you have Devancer, right? Who's a young guy. You have Rob Wright, right? Who I think he's only a sophomore, but started all year last year at Baylor.
Yep.
You have Richie Saunders, who is a very, very experienced guard. You have experienced guys that hate their lives when they play against this Houston defense. And I think the difference between last year's Houston team or in just Houston teams in the past and this year's Houston team, and I would say probably last year's Houston team had a little bit of this, but the Houston teams of the past and, the last 2 years of Houston is that if they are in a shootout, they can win it.
Yeah.
Whereas 3 years ago, 4 years ago, right, if it was a shootout, it's very unlikely it's a shootout, but if for some reason it was, they're going to really struggle to win that. Now they have the talent to be able to do that. And I think my only argument against the bench production in this situation, right? I think for Duke, it's a little bit different because you have Boozer, who's an interior scorer, and then you have Evans, who I would classify as a primary shooter. You have Sharp, who is, yes, a shooter, can get to the rim very well. You have Uzan, who can get to the rim, and you have Flemings, who can – all three of those guys are three-level scorers that average double digits. So when you have three guys that are three-level scorers that average double digits, that all three of them can come off a pick and roll. And also, by the way, Chris Sinak, the other freshman, is starting to play very, very well and at a very good play, level. So I think that overall, this Houston team, if you can get a little bit of production out of Sacco, and I think that Isaiah Harwell is going to be that guy. He in the last kind of last month or so, last couple weeks, has looked significantly better. He looks like he's shooting the ball more confidently. And I think he's going to be somebody that's going to provide a spark off the bench if they need it. But I don't think they need it all that much. You look at, you have three guards shooting it at 32% plus from three, which I know you say 32%. Yes, but it is a high volume and in general, just, all three of these guys are extremely good scorers, especially Flemings. Also, JoJo Tugler is one of the best defenders in the nation, an absolute animal on the glass, is the perfect player to play alongside three guards that can score. So I really like this Houston team. I was saying this last week, not on the podcast, but I was saying it that this Houston team is my pick for the national champion. Obviously, last week has helped them a lot, going from 8-3. Yeah. They are my pick to be the national champion. I know a lot of people are going to say Arizona. Right now, it's Houston for me, though.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. It's tough not to take them. And, like you said, if you get Chris Sinak starting to play the way he is, I mean, I feel like that's probably the biggest issue that we had at the beginning of the years. We're like, oh, Houston's pretty good, but they lose a bad game to Tennessee. They don't look good. Well, yeah, it was because Joseph Tugler's not an inside scoring threat. That's not why he's on the team. That's not why he starts. He's a defensive guy. Mm-hmm. So then you're starting a true freshman next to him who hasn't really got his footing down yet, wasn't able to really play with his back to the basket and, kind of be a scoring threat. And now we're seeing it. And I think that is a humongous thing for this team. And it's going to be really tough for me not to fall back into the Houston bandwagon like I did last year and, pick them to go all the way.
I think so. Let's go ahead and shift to real. I agree. Houston is my pick, but let's go ahead and shift to another team here. And this is a team that maybe is not we've been high on a lot of the teams we've talked about so far. This is a team I have a feeling, at least from my end, I'm not as high on. It's Gonzaga. I think Gonzaga, the thing about them is they try to play a very tough non-conference because they know, they're well aware. Mark Pugh is well aware that the West Coast Conference is just not
Yeah.
highly respected. They're normally a 2 or 3 bid conference, right? That's just how it is.
Yeah.
And they played a tough schedule on paper this year. The problem is that the tough games that they played ended up being teams that are no longer impressive teams. I think that's the problem. And
Mhm.
so when Gonzaga at the beginning of the year goes and beats Bama on a neutral court, or they go and beat the crap out of Kentucky, who, by the way, has looked very good in the last month, but the Kentucky team that they beat was not the Kentucky team that's playing right now, right? You
Yep.
were without several players. You were without Quaintance. You were without, several leading scorers for Kentucky that were not playing. They weren't playing as a cohesive team. I mean, that's just a very different team. But your wins over Kentucky and Alabama were supposed to be your absolutely key. UCLA were supposed to be key, huge wins. I mean, Alabama looks very rough right now. UCLA, there's a chance they might not even end up, as a
Yeah.
tournament team, right? I mean, they're kind of on that bubble, right? I would
Yeah.
say for now.
10 seed right now.
Yeah. And so I think in general, when I look at this Gonzaga team, the problem is if you're 4 wins in quad one, they don't have an ultra quad one win. That's
Yeah.
that's the point I'm trying to make. The only team they've played that would be an ultra quad one game, they lost by 42.
Yeah.
And I know that was when Michigan was on their just absolute death toll where they were killing everybody that they played. But this Gonzaga team, resume wise, is not elite, and the eye test is certainly not elite. They're struggling with guard play big time. I
Yeah.
know, something that you're going to touch on. Obviously, once Braden Huff comes back, they're going to be significantly better. He's a part of that two-headed monster inside, right, with Graham Ike,
Yep.
but he's not back yet, and you need to figure it out at the guard position, I think, ASAP, but I don't know if they have an answer.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with that. I don't think they do. I mean, this is a team that you look what they did. I mean, they went and played at the Portland Pilots, who are 11-14, 4-8 in the WCC, and they get embarrassed. I mean, there was points in the second half where they were down by double digits, and this is Portland. I mean, you can't lose these type of games, and I think, like you said perfectly, it comes down to where is the guard play? There's no guard play on this team. Your leading guard is a true freshman point guard in Saint Superi, and he had 12 in this game. Fantastic. Coming off the bench though, only played 23 minutes.
Yep.
That's not enough if that's your lead guard. Your lead guard can only put up 23 minutes in a game. And you look at their starting lineup; they had 24 and 10 out of Ike. Nobody else got over 9 points. And you had one starter who didn't even score, and then one who had 3. That's not good enough. And that's going to be, I think, the biggest issue is obviously, yes, you need to get healthy. If you get Huff healthy, that's huge. You have a two-headed monster down low. But what happens when you run into a team that has just as good of big men down low? And a perfect example for me is at least, Michigan State. What if they played Michigan State and let's say it's a 4-3 or something, in the second, you get to that second weekend of the tournament. I don't see why this team would beat Michigan State.
Or even like in North Carolina.
Yeah, I don't see why they would. It's
If
like
you
if
you give me
you guard them down low.
Vasar and Wilson to match up against EK and Huff, the guard play is not there. And I know they're 10 deep. Yeah, that's nice. But what happens when you look inside and you don't have an interior advantage? When you don't have an advantage inside and you say, we need somebody at the guard position to go create points for themselves. I don't think they can.
They don't have it.
And I think that they're not a good enough defensive team where I'm going to sit here and say, yeah, they are. They are able to not have a guard that's necessarily elite like that. I look at them; their 14th Ken Palm defense. If you have guard play like what they have offensively, you have to be a top 3 rated Ken Palm team for me to say you're going to be a team that's going to end up in the Elite 8 or beyond. And right now, I see them able to get out of the first round depending on matchups, right? If you have a matchup where you have an interior advantage, Huff and EK are spectacular. They're very good bigs. But if you don't have an interior advantage, I think any matchup where they don't have that is going to be very, very tough for them to win.
I mean, yes. The biggest thing is, like you said, Braden Huff's got to get healthy. And if he does, we still don't even know if he's going to be the same player he was before he got hurt.
Right.
I mean, right now the timeline's looking that he'll be able to play a game or two in the WCC tournament championship. Is that enough? Is that enough games under your belt when you're coming back off of a knee injury like that to then go into March Madness where you're probably gonna be what I would say at least if they win out a 3 to a 5 seed
Yeah.
and you get an upset-minded team in that 12 to 14 range, you never know what's going to happen. I mean, that's why this is why it's the greatest tournament that we have. Is it truly you never know, and it wouldn't surprise me one bit if somehow we see this Gonzaga team barely get by in that first round game and then lose that second round game because they just don't have enough continuity in that offensive lineup to really be like, all right, this is that good of a team. We thought we saw it earlier in the year, and you perfectly said it. It's like this team took advantage of beating the hell out of some of these non-con teams that we didn't really know about. Probably got overranked.
Yep.
It's just, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see, but first and foremost, you got to get healthy.
Mm-hmm.
You can't slip up. I mean, yes, they had a good bounce back game. They played at Oregon State. They won by 20, but still, Oregon State's not good. The next biggest game on my list is going to be on Saturday when they play at Santa Clara. This is a Santa Clara team who's in first right now. Has been playing really good basketball, sitting at 21-5. Can you go into their place? Can you get a win? Which, yes, is probably a big win by WCC standards, and then prove to us that you can still do it. But if they go out and they win the game, they win by a bucket or something, and we're looking at EK having 30 points and nobody else is really doing anything, I think we'll still come back here next week and be like, look, this is becoming a problem.
Mm-hmm.
We got to start getting some better guard play. If we don't, then this is a team that, they'll be a top 16 seed maybe, and you're like, all right, they might have a chance, they might not.
Yeah. I think you have two quad one opportunities, right? The other two, it's going to be a 3-bid conference with St. Mary's and Santa Clara getting in. You play on the road against both of those teams in the remaining month of the season. I want to see you play well in those games. You have to go at least 1-1 in those if I'm going to have any hope going into the tournament. But really what I need to see is I need to see a guard step up and say, when you need a tough bucket, I can go get you one. It doesn't have to be EK. And I understand you want to go through EK, but I mean, we see it all the time. Unless you have a Boozer or a Cooper Flagg or a Caleb Wilson type of player that on the interior, it is so difficult late in the game to play through a post player. You need a guard that is able to, facilitate off the dribble, create for others, but also create for himself and get to the rim, get to a mid-range and hit a pull-up jumper. It's just so much easier for a guard to take over a game late than a big guy. But I think in general, this Gonzaga team needs to show some promise for the rest of the year. Final team we're going to touch on is a team that we were just talking about, before we recorded this, is a 6-loss team. 5 of the losses are, against teams that are currently ranked. And the other one was at UCF. So 6 quad 1 losses, I believe. And it's the Texas Tech Red Raiders. And I think the thing about this Texas Tech Red Raiders, to quickly compare them to Gonzaga, is the thing about Texas Tech is they have the ultra quad 1 win, right? They have beat Duke. They have beat Houston. Like, they have beat extremely good teams to get that ultra quad 1 win, and you only have quad 1 losses. So I think it's impressive to me what this Texas Tech team is doing. Obviously, the loss against Kansas is a game that you don't have Christian Anderson in, right? And Christian Anderson is going to be an All-American. This guy is averaging like 19-8 on the season. He is one of the best, if not the best, guard in the nation this year. And he's the reason, I think, not the reason, he's one of the reasons why JT Toppin's as good as he is, because he has a guard that plays off of him as well as he does. If you don't have a guard that plays off of him, it makes it just more difficult for JT Toppin. The entire offense is so much better with Anderson. So when he doesn't play, I think this team drops off a lot, and we've seen that. But this Texas Tech team, although they're a 6-loss team and currently ranked 16th, if I see them at all in the tournament, I don't. I'm not happy. This team is dangerous. Several guys that can shoot at very high clips, and then one of the best, big men in the country in Toppin.
Yeah, I think that we could see this Texas Tech team be a team that's a 9 or 10 loss team going into the tournament, and you're pissed that you have to see them in the second round or third round.
Yes.
I mean, they are that good. They've proven it that they're that good. And like you brought up with the Kansas game, I mean, they let Kansas finish the game on a 10-2 run, gave up the lead, and the next thing you know, you gave Darren Peterson, probably going to be the number 1 pick in the draft this coming year, the ball with a chance to win it. And he did just that with back-to-back big-time threes. Yeah, that game's a little bit worrisome because it should be a win in the column, but I don't think it's really that big of a deal. Like you said, Christian Anderson didn't play. He kept acting like he was going to try to. He was sick. He didn't. Um, but I mean, you look at what they were able to do. They won yesterday. They went on the road and beat West Virginia, who can be pesky at times.
Yep.
I mean, and literally knocked off Kansas at their place earlier in the year. I mean, and it was a game where, yeah, you see on paper they only won by 7, but it really was never that close. It was a game they controlled the whole time. I want to say they probably led the whole game too.
Mhm.
And you got Anderson back, and while Anderson didn't put up the 20 points he's averaging, he put up 13 and he had 11 assists.
Yep.
That's fantastic. Because then guess what? You pair it with Toppin, who had 22 and 9. I mean, you're like, there's exactly what you need. And the biggest thing I'm starting to see, and I started to see it a little bit yesterday, but also in the Kansas game, is Donovan Atwell. I think this kid has been fantastic as being that third option for this Texas Tech team. Right now, he's averaging 12 points and 3 rebounds. He's doing it on 45% shooting from the field and from 3. If you can get him hot in a game and pair him with Anderson and Toppin, I mean, this team really has a high ceiling, and I think when you look at what he did, against West Virginia, he had 15. He did it on 4 or 6 shooting, 4 or 5 from deep, made 3 free throws, didn't have any turnovers, had 3 rebounds. Like that is what you need out of your third or fourth option in your offense. Now, this is then another problem with Texas Tech. Really quick is, I mean, you look at what they have from the bench. I mean, yeah, it was a close game. They were up 12 at half. But they got nothing from the bench.
Mhm.
Literally nothing. They had 2 points off the bench. They had a combined 15 minutes from the bench. That could become an issue. Don't get me wrong, that could become an issue, especially when you get into March. You're playing back-to-back games. Your legs are going to get tired when you're playing that many games in a row. Can they figure it out? If they can figure it out and, Donovan Atwell can keep doing what he's doing, giving you that many points, I don't see why this team, couldn't be a very scary, 9 or 10 loss team going into March.
Yeah, I think the thing that's so scary about this Texas Tech team, similar to Illinois, is that they have of their 6 leading scorers, 5 of them shoot the 3 ball at 30% plus.
Yeah.
The only guy that doesn't is JT Toppin, who, by the way, you need to worry about everywhere else. And
Yeah.
he's shooting it at like 28%. So enough that you probably still want to guard him. So this Texas Tech team, because of the team's ability to shoot 3, it is so scary. They obviously, I think, shot it significantly worse when Anderson's not in because he facilitates so well, right?
Yeah.
But I think in general, this Texas Tech team, they have 3 more games, and like we said, 6-loss team. They still play at Arizona, at Iowa State, and at BYU. So 3 extremely tough games.
Yeah.
Wouldn't be surprised if they end as a 10 or maybe even 11-loss team and get to be like a 6 seed.
Yeah.
And if they're a 6 seed and you're a 3 seed and you see them in the second round, Texas Tech will more than likely be favored over just about any 3 seed in the nation as a 6 seed there. So this Texas Tech team is going to be very, very dangerous in March. Don't be surprised if you're looking to pick a 6 or a 7 seed. Sorry to say 6 or 7. If you're looking to pick a 6 or a 7 seed, I mean, maybe they end up as a 5 if they win 1 or 2 of those. If you're looking to pick a team that's not in the top 3 seeds in their region to get to the Final Four, Texas Tech Red Raiders, they are your team.
Yes.
But we're getting a little long now, so I think we'll save everything else for next week. We do have a March Madness specific one coming out at the end of this week, so make sure to stay tuned to that. We have Kansas, Arizona really quickly. Just give me a team pick tonight. Who you think is going to win and by how much?
So I really think that Arizona is going to win this game, but then I get the information thrown on me that Bill Self is 38-0 at home on ESPN Big Mondays. So I'm still going to go with Arizona. I think Arizona wins it by 3.
Okay, I'm going Kansas by 8. I think Kansas gets it. I think it's a close game. Kansas just stretches it. It's going to be a 1 possession game the entire game. But I think Kansas gets it. I think this is a spot. Kansas is heating up. They're playing well. Darren Peterson loves the big stage. He plays spectacular on the big stage. This is about as big as it gets. Something has to give. Bill Self will lose, or Arizona will lose. Both of those records will not be undefeated after this. But going to be a great game tonight. So this is being recorded on Monday. Great game tonight. We've got March Madness episode coming out later this week, and then we'll be back next Monday with another just recap of the last week and what we've learned.
Probably another great weekend.
Yeah, I would expect it will be. But other than that, this has been the Sports Geeks podcast. They play, we talk. Thanks for watching, guys. Peace.